From Nick Kyrgios smashing 2 rackets in the changing room to avoid a code violation, to Novak Djokovic ranting at the umpire who gave a point to his opponent, here are tennis players who are the biggest whingers ever. Starting off with none other than the infamous Nick Kyrgios. The guy is like a ticking time bomb, always ready to explode at the slightest provocation. And at the 2019 Cincinnati Open, he definitely went off like a rocket. Kyrgios was playing against Karen Khachanov, but Nick was in a foul mood thanks to some earlier run-ins with the chair umpire. And boy, did he let it show. He was basically mouthing off throughout the match, and you could see the anger bubbling under the surface. But it was when he started shouting, "This is the worst ref ever," that things really started to get interesting. Nick was clearly unhappy with how things were going, and he was making sure everyone knew it. And if that wasn't enough, he even took 2 of his rackets off the court and smashed them up in the changing room. Maybe he thought that was a better way to deal with his frustration than getting a code violation on court. Fans said it was like watching a toddler have a tantrum. But hey, that's just Nick being Nick, right? Let's talk about another tantrum of his meltdown at the 2019 Rome Master. So, Nick was playing in what seemed to be a fairly normal match, until some spectators decided to take a stroll while he was serving. And you know what? That just did not sit well with him. Instead of, brushing it off and focusing on the game, Nick decided to throw a tantrum instead. He started cursing at the crowd, and then went on to smash his racket into a million pieces. Rookie work for Nick. But he wasn't done with his little temper tantrum just yet. He decided to really let his inner whinger out and threw a chair across the court. Like, what? That could have seriously hurt someone. Well, it turns out that the officials at the Rome Masters were not too pleased with Nick's antics either, and they decided to default him from the match. Of course, this whole thing quickly went viral on social media, because, let's be real, people love watching a good meltdown, and that's why this next match went viral too. I'm talking about David Nalbandian during Queen's 2012. So picture this. Nalbandian was playing against Marin Cilic and was actually doing pretty well. He was up by a set and things were looking good, but then he missed a shot. A forehand, to be precise. And boy, did that send him over the edge. Nalbandian decided to take out his frustration on the boardings surrounding a line judge's chair. Yep, you heard that right. He kicked out at the boardings like he was auditioning for the next Karate Kid movie. But wait, it gets worse. The boardings actually collapsed and ended up hitting the line judge's leg. Ouch, that had to hurt. The poor guy ended up with a nasty cut. And what was the result of Nalbandian's little tantrum? Well, he got instantly disqualified, of course. That's kinda what you get when you piss off a judge. Let's hope he's learned to control his temper since then, and isn't following the footsteps of Grigor Dimitrov during Istanbul 2016. I'm sure everyone remembers this one. Let's get one thing straight. Dimitrov is not afraid to show his emotions on the tennis court. And during the match with Diego Schwartzman, he decided to go all out. He had his moments of brilliance, sure, but also some unforced errors that didn't go his way. But that's tennis, right? Unfortunately, it seems Dimitrov had other plans when he found himself 5-0 down in the 3rd set. Instead of accepting defeat, the Bulgarian decided to take matters into his own hands, or rather his rackets, and smashed not 1, not 2, but 3 rackets to pieces. Talk about letting off steam. Of course, this didn't go down well with the officials, and Dimitrov was rightly disqualified from the match. But hey, at least he went out with a bang, right? But he definitely doesn't top the list. No, the king of whinging shall always be Novak Djokovic. Remember his tantrum at the 2015 Shanghai Masters? This guy really knows how to complain on the tennis court. So, during the match against Jo Wilfried Tsonga, Djokovic Djokovic got really upset over an overrule by the umpire. Apparently, a ball was called out late, and Djokovic didn't bother to play it, thinking it was out. But then the umpire gave the point to Tsonga, and Djokovic lost his cool. He argued that he could have hit the ball back if he wanted to, but the umpire claimed the call came after Djokovic would have hit his shot. To make matters worse, in the very next game, Tsonga hit a slice backhand that was challenged and ended up being on the line. Djokovic had a clear play at the ball, but the umpire once again gave the point to Tsonga. That's when Djokovic really lost it and went on a rant during the change of ends. He was yelling at the umpire and pointing at the chair like he was trying to start a fight. He wanted an explanation for why Tsonga got the point earlier, and he wasn't satisfied with what he heard. He thought the umpire was biased, and he made sure that everyone knew how he felt about it. Djokovic also smashed his racket on the ground a few times, just to really drive home how angry he was. It was like he was trying to take out his frustrations on that racket. It was a pretty intense moment in the match. But hey, this is Djokovic we're talking about. If anything, it's a pretty watered down version of the story. It seems like Viktor Troicki is taking Djokovic's crown though, with the way he threw a tantrum at Wimbledon 2016. Troicki was playing against Ramos Vinolas, and he hit a serve that he thought was perfectly fine, but the umpire had other ideas and overruled it. And that's when the drama began. Troicki let out a blood-curdling scream and ran over to where the ball had landed. He picked it up and showed it to the umpire, insisting that there was no chalk on it and therefore it couldn't have been out. Okay, Sherlock Holmes. The best part is that Troicki's screams could be heard from every corner of the ground. I'm surprised he didn't break a few windows with his vocal cords. I guess it's a normal reaction to not accepting that you hit a bad serve. It was almost as entertaining as this next whinger. Can you guess it? I'm talking about Andrea Petkovic at the Dubai Tennis Championships, of course. She went all out with a full-scale temper tantrum that could make a toddler jealous. It all started when Petkovic was playing against Serena Diaz, and the quality of officiating got under her skin. With the score poised at 5-6 in the first set, she let a deep shot bounce, only to be told that it was in by the umpire. But hold on a minute. The ball was clearly beyond the baseline. Naturally, this didn't sit well with the German player, who dropped to her knees in frustration, banging her hands while screaming and pleading to the umpire, who remained completely unmoved by her protest. But that's not all. As if the tantrum on the court wasn't enough, Petkovic went on to throw her racket in anger toward the bench, narrowly missing the linesman after she lost the first set. And to top it all off, she couldn't regain her composure for the rest of the game, letting Diaz take advantage of her mental snap and loss of concentration. Oh man, those pictures of Andrea dropping to her knees and throwing a fit on the court were everywhere. It was like the internet couldn't get enough of her epic meltdown. In one shot, you could see her banging her hands on the ground while screaming at the officials. And in another, she's tossing the racket towards the bench with a look of pure rage on her face. Yep, unfortunately for Andrea, it was all documented. Now, I'm not one to judge, but let's be real here. Petkovic's behavior has really let her earn the top spot on this list. And that's all I have for tennis players who are the biggest whingers ever.